I'm still delivering pizza out here in the outskirts of Milwaukee. It's a job that pays the bills and lets me explore the city, but delivering to the rural areas is always a bit strange. The houses are far apart, the roads are winding, and the people are often peculiar. One night, I'm driving down a road to deliver a pizza to a remote farmhouse. It's cloudy, and the moon is barely visible, but it's not full on dark yet. As I turn a corner, I see something that makes my heart skip a beat. On the side of the road, I see the pale image of a young girl. She seems shocked to see me as I am of her, and she disappears as soon as I notice her. I figured that kids out here have no real understanding of how roads work. They come and go and probably have the run of the countryside. Farm living, I guess. I took a look at the dashboard of the car, and the temperature says it's about 70 degrees. A bit chilly for me, but I guess not for kids hanging around just before it gets too dark. Maybe they were born in a barn. Who knows? The kid disappeared so fast that I can't believe what I just saw. I've never believed in ghosts before, but now I'm not so sure. I deliver the pizza and drive back to the shop, feeling shaken and confused. Who let their kids play on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere? Over the next few days, I deliver more pizzas to the same area. There are a lot of run-down barns and abandoned houses. However, I find that there is a fair amount of money too. Someone seems to think that building a mansion out in the sticks is a great way to have luxury and privacy. I can't blame them. Every once in a while, when I drive down that dark road, I see the image of the same young girl, sometimes behind a tree line, sometimes peeking over a ditch. I can't figure out what she wants or why she's there, but I know that something is wrong. It looked like she hadn't changed clothes, and she just stares until she sees me looking back at her. Crazy, right? One evening, while driving down the same road, I noticed something strange. This time, the girl pops up from the side, and while I was distracted for a split second, I look ahead and see a body standing right in the path of a car. Now mind you, I'm driving like a bat out of hell down a lonely dirt road, so I should be paying attention. I swerved to keep from hitting her, or whatever that was. Betsy, my dad's old Camry, rumbles over a small mound of dirt on the side of the road near where I saw the ghostly image of a young girl. I get out to check the car and see how bad the damage is. All I can think is if I hit someone running on the road, calling for a tow truck in the middle of nowhere will be the least of my problems. As I got out of my car, I saw something that made my blood run cold. At best, it's a shallow grave, and there's a body inside. I'm horrified, but I know that I have to do something. I call the police and wait for them to arrive. Seeing that I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I call my boss and tell them what's happening. I think that he's going to freak out and fire me, but he sounds distant and even casual about the whole thing. Like this type of thing happens every day and just happens to be today. I think that if I'm freaking out, why isn't he? I don't smoke, but if I did, I would have been on my second pack of cigarettes right now. I gave him my location and where I was supposed to deliver. My boss said he would call my dad, but for me to call the sheriff. I stay clear of the body and I don't touch whatever is left of the mound of gravel. From what I can see, this isn't really private property, but in these back roads, it's probably really owned by one or two people. I'm updating my parents by text, as reception is really bad out here, when I see about a quarter mile away what looks like a thin, pale girl standing just to the side of the road. At first glance, she appears to be a young teen with a Harley-Davidson sweater and jeans, but as she draws closer, I realize something is not quite right. The sweater seems to hang loosely on her skeletal frame. Her brown hair is stringy and unkempt, looking as if it's caked with mud and grime. As I got closer, I realized her eyes were empty sockets, devoid of any life or spark, but her face was animated and expressive. If she was cold, she didn't shiver. If she was tired, she didn't slouch. If she was with someone else, she was not looking around. She was alone, and she was looking directly at me. The ghostly girl suddenly seemed to be trying to get my attention, waving her arms and gesturing frantically, but I didn't hear any words. She stood about a stone's throw away from me. Her mouth opened, but only a faint whisper escaped her lips. I felt a chill run down my spine as I looked at her, then at the ground and then back to her dead features. After a few seconds, the girl stopped waving and pointed to the mound. "You want me to go over there?" I asked. I felt stupid even talking to someone that was most likely a figment of my imagination. I have to say, I've never really had a vivid imagination as a kid. Now, things felt enhanced and surreal. The girl pointed to her neck and made a heart with her hands. I looked back at the mound and then back to the girl. She stared on, hoping that I would get the hint. She didn't move, but kept her hands near her neck in the shape of a heart. When I looked again, double-checking to make sure I hadn't totally cracked up from stress, I saw that the girl had looked back down the road and then back to me. Her expression changed from deadpan to worry. Maybe it was pleading. After a minute, I heard a loud motor coming. I couldn't see the vehicle, but I presumed it was the local sheriff. I don't know what came over me, but I ran back to the mound and started to shift around and look for what I thought was a locket. I didn't see anything around her neck. I gritted my teeth and pulled the shirt collar down slightly, and just as like that, a thin chain was there. I yanked the chain off the body and wrapped the contents in my hand, stuffing it in my jeans. I looked back, but saw that the girl was standing there for a moment. She still had a worried look on her face, her fingers still laced to make a heart. I walked away from the body back towards my car. I kicked the dirt and looked at the ground. What was I missing? Don't ask me how I found it, but several feet away, just slightly crumpled up near some old beer cans and potato chip bags, was the glittering reflection of a bit of jewelry. I scooped it up and saw that the sheriff's car had driven past the girl. I didn't want to show that I had picked up anything, but got the brilliant idea of putting the small locket in my mouth and under my tongue. I immediately regretted it, but thought that picking up anything from a crime scene would be suspicious. Again, this place didn't look too kindly on peculiar outsiders like myself. I covered my mouth and cast my eyes down and scanned the police car. I don't think I needed to pretend that this ordeal sickened me, but it was something that I felt would make my actions seem believable. And just like that, the girl disappeared. When the sheriff arrived, they questioned me and took a statement. After a short, while 2 more cars came as well as my boss. Since I am technically a minor, my boss vouched for me and I was released to his care. As I get in my car, ready to leave, I stop and almost scream when I look in my rearview mirror. The dead-eyed girl was staring up at me. I leap out of my car and then looked in the back seat. It's empty. My boss pulls his car beside me to see if I'm ok. I nod and say that I just had a long day. He nods and tells me to take a few days off. I shake my head and tell him I'll be back to work tomorrow. I get back into my car. I turn around and check the back seat. There is no one there. I slowly look at the rear view and side mirrors. Nothing. I spit out the locket into the cup holder and leave the sheriff's deputies milling about. I think I should look for a new job.